During the Russian Revolution, Lenin employed the term reactionary to describe individuals or groups who staunchly opposed revolutionary changes and sought to maintain the status quo of the pre-revolutionary social and political order. These reactionaries were often associated with the old aristocracy, bourgeoisie, and elements of the Tsarist regime, who resisted any progressive reforms or challenges to their privileged positions. According to Lenin's definition, reactionaries were characterized by their desire to preserve the traditional hierarchy, suppress workers' rights, and quell any attempts to establish a socialist state. Lenin and the Bolsheviks considered these reactionaries as adversaries, viewing them as a significant obstacle to the realization of a proletarian revolution and the establishment of a new social system in Russia. In Lenin's perspective, the struggle against reactionaries was integral to the success of the Russian Revolution. He believed that only through the defeat of the reactionary forces and the dismantling of their institutions could a truly revolutionary socialist society be constructed. Lenin's emphasis on identifying and confronting reactionaries shaped the course of the revolution, leading to policies and actions aimed at weakening and ultimately eliminating the influence of these counter-revolutionary elements. The concept of reactionary became a key ideological tool for the Bolsheviks, helping them rally support among the masses and consolidate their power during this tumultuous period in Russian history. So, let's examine what reactionary means according to Lenin. In Lenin's perspective during the Russian Revolution, a reactionary is an individual or group opposing progressive change, seeking to preserve outdated social and political structures. Aligned with the old ruling class, they vehemently resist empowering the working class and establishing a socialist order. Characterized by their defense of privilege and vested interests, they stand as formidable obstacles to the revolution's success. In Soviet Russia, a reactionary was defined as someone who opposed the socialist revolution and sought to maintain the pre-revolutionary order. However, in a Western context, the term reactionary can encompass a broader meaning. In democratic societies, a reactionary would be someone opposing progressive change or the ideals of that country's democratic principles. Their resistance to change can be seen as a rejection of democratic values, as they seek to uphold traditional norms and resist societal advancements. Similarly, in a fascist regime, a reactionary would be a non-fascist individual, opposing the principles and ideology of the ruling fascist government. In this context, the term encompasses those who resist the authoritarian and nationalist tenets of fascism. The common thread among reactionaries is their opposition to the current system or ideology in place, whether it be democratic, fascist, or any other type of regime. In other examples, a reactionary in a liberal society would be someone opposing liberal values, a reactionary in a conservative society would be someone opposing conservative principles, and so on. In each case, the reactionary is positioned against the prevailing ideology, advocating for the retention of established norms and resisting societal progress or change. The notion of a reactionary, therefore, finds meaning in contrast to the prevailing order and reflects the complex interplay between traditionalism and the drive for societal evolution in different political and cultural contexts. In his book Capitalist Realism, Mark Fisher examines the pervasive sense of resignation and acceptance that capitalism has become an inescapable natural state of affairs. The quote, "It is easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism," encapsulates Fisher's central argument, highlighting the profound influence of capitalist ideology on our collective imagination. He contends that capitalism's dominance is so all-encompassing that it permeates not just economic systems but also shapes our cultural, social, and individual perceptions. The quote underscores the difficulty in envisioning alternative socioeconomic structures, as capitalism's hegemony is so deeply ingrained in our daily lives that imagining an alternative seems nearly impossible. Fisher's analysis serves as a poignant critique of how capitalist realism stifles our capacity to envision transformative change, reinforcing the need to challenge the status quo and explore avenues beyond the apparent inevitability of capitalism. Poverty has been a significant issue in various socialist states, including Venezuela, Cuba, and Soviet-era Eastern Bloc countries, among others. While socialist policies aim to address income inequality, some of these nations have faced economic challenges, mismanagement, and external pressures that contributed to socioeconomic hardships. Regarding the issue of increasing taxes on the rich, critics argue that it can lead to the wealthy relocating their assets or businesses to tax havens, reducing the intended impact of such measures. Leon Trotsky, a prominent revolutionary and Marxist theorist, believed that the success of a socialist revolution was contingent upon its global scope. He argued that if the revolution were confined to a single country, the ruling capitalist class and their resources would likely flee to more favorable capitalist territories, undermining the socialist efforts. For Trotsky, a worldwide revolution was necessary to prevent the wealthy elite from evading accountability and ensure the establishment of a sustainable and just socialist society. If someone is deemed a reactionary within the context of their own country, it means they are opposing or resisting certain progressive changes or ideals that are being promoted within that specific national framework. However, When considering a global context, the situation becomes more nuanced. The individual's stance on various issues might differ from one country to another, as different nations can have distinct political, social, and cultural landscapes. What is considered a reactionary position in one country might align more closely with prevailing views in another. Yet, when confronted with a global context that challenges their core values and beliefs, this person may adopt an anti-globalist reactionary stance. In such a scenario, their opposition is directed not solely against specific changes within their own country, but against the broader forces of globalization, which they perceive as undermining or threatening their values, cultural identity, or national sovereignty. The label of anti-globalist reactionary emerges from their resistance to the influence of globalized ideas, policies, and institutions, which they see as incompatible with their worldview and national interests. This distinction illustrates how an individual's reactionary tendencies can be contingent on the context in which they find themselves and the global forces that shape their perspective. From the perspective of someone who holds the belief that a globalist elite seeks to impose a universal norm of everyone wearing red, they would view anyone who resists or opposes this mandate as a reactionary. In this scenario, the term reactionary is used to describe those who reject the imposed uniformity and assert their individuality or uphold alternative values. Furthermore, for this individual, the stakes are even higher when the aims of the globalist elite are perceived as fundamentally anti-human. In such a perspective, those who identify as humanists, valuing human welfare, rights, and dignity, would be seen as particularly reactionary. Humanists would oppose the globalist elite's anti-human agenda, which may involve exploiting or disregarding human well-being in the pursuit of power or profit. From this standpoint, humanists' resistance against the anti-human aspirations of the globalist elite would be deemed crucial to safeguarding the principles of humanism and protecting humanity from harm. In this viewpoint, the label reactionary is used not only to describe dissenters to specific policies, but to highlight the opposition to what is perceived as a destructive globalist agenda. This perspective emphasizes the importance of standing against oppressive forces and preserving the values that cherish individuality and humanity's well-being in the face of what is believed to be a threatening globalist influence. In the realm of power dynamics, it is often observed that those who hold positions of authority seek to maintain and consolidate their power, ensuring it remains out of reach for others. This inherent drive for self-preservation and dominance is not confined to a single nation or group, but extends globally. In this context, anyone who aspires to wield power, freedom, and influence for themselves, regardless of their intentions, could be seen as a reactionary in their own right. As one who desires autonomy and influence, I find myself entangled in this reactionary stance. While my aspirations may not be driven by oppressive agendas, the mere pursuit of power and influence amid a global backdrop dominated by power-hungry elites places me in opposition to the status quo. Recognizing this paradox, I must grapple with the complex nature of human ambition and power dynamics, striving to align my desires for personal freedom and influence with a commitment to fairness, justice, and the well-being of all. During the Stalinist rule of Soviet Russia, a dark period marked by ideological fervor and consolidation of power, the purges of reactionaries were a significant aspect of the regime's tactics. While the intent behind these purges may have been to safeguard the socialist revolution and root out counter-revolutionary elements, history has shown the disastrous consequences of such actions. Purging reactionaries, regardless of the context, poses a severe threat to political debate and democratic principles. While it is crucial to address genuine threats to stability, purges risk stifling diverse opinions and perspectives that are essential for a healthy political discourse. A robust and balanced debate is vital for a society's growth and progress, allowing for the exchange of ideas and the potential to correct course when needed. Instead of resorting to purges, societies should embrace open dialogue, the protection of individual rights, and the fostering of constructive dissent, as these are the pillars upon which genuine progress and a resilient democracy can be built.